Lavender Corretta contains mature themes. All videos are kept unage restricted so that the information provided is free to all, regardless of age or demographic. However, viewer discretion is advised. Hey guys, Candles here. If this is your first video, welcome. Today I'm going to be talking about a concept in sexual health that's really specific, like it's experienced on an individual level. If you missed the last video on my main channel, Lavender Candles, I talked a little bit about how I've been kind of burning out over the last few months. As a result of this revelation, I took a bit of a break. Moving forward, I'm not going to adhere to any content schedule, algorithm recommendations, nothing. I'm also going to be trying to have a bit more of a loosey-goosey voiceover. I'm breaking away from a lot of the typical conventions. I'm basically returning to making videos the way that I used to make them before I got monetized. As little or as often as I wanted, and about whatever I wanted. I'm no longer worrying about YouTube supporting me financially. I just wanted to give you the cliff notes on this update video in case you missed it. There's more to say about really where my head's at, but if you missed it, you can check it out right here. Anyway, let's get to the main part of the video, which is, can I hold it while you pee? Ooh. If you watched that video, you know that now I'm addicted to hot chocolate, and I'm getting better at making it, half and half. It's the secret. Can I hold it while you pee? And the answer is, yes, you can. No, but really, I've heard stories where someone's girlfriend would be like, hey, I'm a little silly. Can I hold your dick while you go to the bathroom? She essentially wants to control it like a joystick. And this makes me laugh in a way that nothing else really does. Because as a person with a penis, imagining anyone asking to control this specific part of my body is funny. Because it implies that I have any real control over it in the first place. I think this is something that a lot of girls don't really realize about penises. When a man goes to the bathroom, yes, he is sort of controlling the direction of the stream. But it's not like firing a gun. It's not as precise as you think it is. To be honest, it's more like squeezing a bottle of ketchup, or putting icing on a cake with one of those icing bag things. Yes, you're pointing it in a general direction, but you can't control what happens to the stream once it leaves the funnel. Have you ever tried to decorate a cake with one of those icing bags? It's really difficult. It might go in a totally unforeseen direction. So the next time you complain that the toilet seat has 1 or 2 drops of pee on it, remember that we're trying our best. But I didn't start recording voiceover just now just to try and explain to you why we pee on the toilet seat. No, I actually want to focus on the asking part of this scenario. Personally, I haven't decided to get into dating just yet, so I've never had anyone ask me to hold it while I pee. But what makes me smile is the natural, innocent curiosity present in the request. It's almost childish. Not in a weird way, but I think you know what I mean. It sounds like a question that 2 very young people with no understanding of standard social rules and conventions would ask each other. There's a very natural, wholesome misunderstanding of how someone else's body actually works. And I can't even blame a girl for asking that. Boys, we really forget how weird it is to have an organ like this. It's something that you can kind of control, but not really. We can direct it with our hand, but we can't control when an erection happens. An erection. That's a hard word to say. You know what else is hard?
That's what she said!
But we sort of can if we think of something unsexy. The erection goes away. How do you explain something like this to someone who's never had the pleasure of having a penis? Because I'm not gonna lie, it is fun. Yes, ladies, it's a fun part of the body. Can I hold it while you pee is such an awesome question because it's so unserious. It represents a point in the relationship unburdened by the lack of time spent in the relationship. There's no fighting over time with the kids, no parental responsibilities. This question is typically asked during the honeymoon phase, when you're both still high on hormones. But more than anything, it's a reminder of the natural curiosities that are present in sex. Or, I guess I should say, the ones that used to be present in sex. This is something that I think doesn't get talked about enough. Not nearly enough. With the rise of the internet and the beginning of the information age, the normal development cycle is interrupted. What do I mean by that? Well, nowadays, people know things way earlier than they would have had in the past. Moreover, they know things before experiencing them for themselves. They know the schemas for things, but not the things themselves. Here's an example. Okay, your dad probably didn't know what a vagina looked like until he saw one for himself for the first time. This led to a mutual curiosity at the start of sex, especially the first time having sex. You know, can I touch this part of your body? Is this sensitive? How does this part of your body even work? I mean, I know what a vagina looks like, but it also looks weird because I've never experienced having one and I've never, seen one. And it's the same way for girls who don't know what a penis really looks like. These kinds of things were learned in a hands-on environment. But nowadays, young people like myself have seen what vaginas look like. The surprise was ruined, I guess. We can understand how they work in great detail without ever having to interact with one of them. I've even made a video about vaginas. Yes, I have. It's right here. Also, you should be able to find it pretty easily on my channel page. It was a fairly recent one. It's got a Pokemon on the front cover. I just called a thumbnail the front cover. That's how you know I'm unk. Anyway, that natural process of being curious and asking for consent to better understand those things about each other's bodies. That curiosity, which is a fundamental part of sex, is just gone now. That's the whole fun part of sex, is kind of seeing what each other's bodies look like. At least that's what I would assume. And as part of our second sexual revolution, which is one of the goals of channels like mine, is for us to prioritize this again. Modern sex is way too bogged down with things like the orgasm gap, needing to orgasm in general. You don't need to. You know, penis size, penis envy, cup size, all this BS that doesn't really matter. Those things make sex more interesting, I get it, but they don't really matter in the grand scheme of things. Let me put it this way. A hiker loves to climb the biggest mountains. They're his favorite. Everest? It's the biggest there ever was. And the one time he climbed it was really fun. Painful? Absolutely. But it was fun. After he climbs Everest, is he going to stop climbing mountains forever? No, of course not. Just because he's climbed the biggest one there is doesn't mean smaller mountains seem not worth the effort. If the point of mountain climbing was to only climb the biggest mountains available to you, that would be pretty boring. You're selling yourself short because there's plenty of smaller, undiscovered mountains that have so many interesting things about them. Penises are kind of like that. Sure, this one might not be as big as the one you had previously, but you're not at least a little bit curious as to what's there? It sounds like you don't really love mountains, you just love cheap thrills. But someone who knows to be naturally curious just knows how to have fun. They can find intrinsic joy in any mountain, really. You know, they have standards. I'm not going to climb a mountain that is just one big thorn bush all the way to the top, but I'm going to remain curious because that's what makes this experience fun. You don't need to focus on getting the absolute bustiest girlfriend or the most hung boyfriend, right? Real sex is more nuanced than that. It even helps balance out the genders, believe it or not. How does it do that? Follow me here. This is some big brain activities. The current culture war we're fighting this decade is the gender war. Ugh. Men versus women. Who has it worse? Who deserves the most sympathy? I actually tried to make a video about the gender war a little while ago. I just axed it, dude. It's every time you try and talk about it, it just turns into doomer content, and I hate it. But another thing the internet did is erode trust in every organization, every platform, every company, and yes, every race and gender. I don't trust women because blah 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 money and false accusations. I don't trust men because of blah 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 patriarchy and false accusations. Does this stuff happen? Of course it does. Am I going to solve it in today's video? Of course I'm not. But I bring this up to explain how people have just stopped trusting each other. And they stop trusting each other because they're others. They're not like me, they think a different way. They operate a different way. Yeah, they do. And I think we've forgotten that that's what made the world fun when we were kids. We were allowed to be curious. We were allowed to not know things and ask questions. Can I hold it while you pee is a pretty extreme case. You're not just going to go up to someone and ask to grab it. But for two people in a relationship, I think it's a good sign of trust. I trust that you aren't going to splatter the walls with my piss. I trust that you aren't going to point it directly up at my face. I don't know, maybe I just long for a time where it was okay to be naturally curious. And other people believed that it was okay to ask these kinds of questions because you are just curious. Nowadays, the fear of sex is so prevalent. If you bring it up in any circumstance, even during sex, it's like, stop talking about it, what are you doing? When did it become not okay to just be curious about things? I brought up the example of penis size earlier. It's something that a lot of guys have trouble coping with at some point in their lives. And you might say, no, not really, I never went through that. My friends never went through that. Everybody goes through it. If you haven't done it, then it just hasn't happened yet. No matter how big or small you are. You could be motherfucking Jonah Falcon, whatever his name is. He's still so insecure, I guarantee it. But for me, I went through this character arc a bit late. My first 2 years of college, I was sort of dealing with this in the background. I mean, that's late. College? But do you want to know why? Well, it's not often said, and it's not said enough. But your genitals don't actually stop growing and developing until around age 21. Some people might complete this process a bit earlier, some might hang on for a few more years, but generally speaking, 21 is the magic number. And what that means is most people's first time having sex is before their genitals are even at their maximum potential, before your balls have dropped. But hey, it is what it is. It just so happened that I was one of those guys who held on a bit longer. And it was around freshman year of college where I hit the last pothole of puberty. I noticed that something was different, and when I went to measure, yeah, something was definitely different. This was kind of exciting, as it turned out there was a bit more development that I hadn't accounted for. And now, my stats are looking a bit better in that department. But that realization caused me to seriously look into the statistics. Where I ranked, what the average was, I would obsess over it. A natural curiosity usually happens much earlier than college, but hey, we all go at our own pace. Unfortunately, that curiosity did turn into an addiction. I was obsessed with it. You know, for lack of a better term, I was truly obsessed. It's an example of not having the answers or the support that I really should have had years earlier. And an example of the traditional path of figuring things out on your own, it didn't work out too well. I mean, I guess being a virgin in that situation didn't really help. People who have sex before they can worry about things like size already proved to themselves that it doesn't matter, because they were able to have sex before even considering it. Regardless, that's why making these YouTube videos about sex does matter. I want to help other people avoid those little obsessions that I went through. And again, if this is your first video, you're probably thinking, this dude's gotta be gay. Or trans, right? A lot of people think I have an androgynous voice. I don't really hear it, but that's cool. I'm not actually. I'm a straight dude who happens to have this little character avatar. And the amount of straight dudes who are gonna talk about this kind of stuff is very, very low. So that's why I think this does matter. But okay, anyway. After I went through that, I came out the other side more appreciative of how everyone's bodies can be different. Someone might have a bigger dick than me, but maybe it's got a curve to it. This certainly changes the way they're going to have sex. Maybe they think all penises are curved like that. Maybe his first girlfriend is a virgin, and she's going to think that all penises look like his. Maybe they break up, and she finds a new boyfriend with a smaller penis that doesn't curve. Sorry, I'm laughing because I just remembered that Kronk meme.
Whoa, nice cock.
If they have sex, there might be a moment where she's having difficulties getting into a comfortable position. She's used to bending a... God damn it, it's not going away.
Perfect length. A nice 80-degree angle.
She's used to bending a certain way to account for the curve. But without the curve, she doesn't quite know what to do. This is where a healthy couple communicates. They can ask questions. What kind of positions are you used to? What do you prefer? I swear, you rarely hear about this anymore. I've heard a lot of different stories about sex, and I can tell you exactly what all the women I've talked to have said to me. Yes, one of them did complain, and she thought that she deserved a partner with a foot-long dong. There are just some people like that out there, unfortunately. Very close-minded and unwilling to climb anything other than Everest. The other girls had all the same complaint. Boring sex. Their boyfriends knew missionary and doggy style, and that was it. They were very uncreative when it came to intercourse, and you have to wonder why. I think they forgot how to be curious. Remember those schemas I mentioned earlier? A schema, by the way, just means a representation of something. A lot of these young men today probably learned what sex is from the internet. They saw a gif of a penis going into a butt, and that's what they took sex to mean. And if you think guys talk about sex beyond the, I totally smashed last night, they don't. They don't talk about their insecurities or, my girlfriend said this, what should I do? That doesn't happen. So their view of sex is restricted to penis goes into vagina and I come. That's it. They don't have any knowledge of how this activity can be fleshed out in a more interesting way. Here's where I lose about half of you. If you've seen my channel, you know that I'm a defender of pornography as an idea. Now, the way most of us use it, being a crutch, a replacement for real intimacy, is not good, and is a side effect of loneliness in our generation. But I will die on the hill that pornography can be used to great effect in a healthy relationship. If boring sex is such a common problem among these young couples, then, by all means, pull up a porn video and show him the kind of stuff you want him to do. I know what you're thinking. Porn isn't accurate to real life, and you're right. The help me stepbro, I'm stuck in the oven scenarios aren't accurate. But there are useful things that you can get from it. It's easier said than done, okay? Being completely open with your sex partner about what you want to try. They might think you're creepy or weird for wanting something with flavor. But they're the weird one if they're content with the boring version of one of the most fun things humans can do. We're literally designed to do it. If you're with someone who's religious, they'll definitely have reservations about it. And that's something you two can work out. Even if you have to stick with God's good old missionary, doing things like introducing smells into the equation can be fun. I haven't made the smells video yet, but I'm definitely looking forward to it because it's more than just pheromones. There's a lot of things you can do with smell that I've figured out how to do, and it's a trip. The bottom line is, the way two people's bodies interact is always something unique to be admired. Sex is about two people's life experiences, biases, hopes, and fears all crashing into each other. So why not enjoy the discovery?
Why would you talk about this on the internet, Candles? Sex should be something taught by the school or the priest.
No offense to those people, but they have a very limited view of sex as a concept. Tell me, when was the last time you felt like you learned anything about sex from a health class? Maybe you learned what STDs are. Fear tactics. Those are just fear tactics to get you to be scared of having sex. Most of the time, they're just trying to terrify you. Not that STDs don't exist, they do, but they shouldn't be all you learn about. The reason you feel so disconnected from most of this government-approved sex talk slop is because it's all medical and professional, when you get into the real world and it's all emotional and messy. Sex isn't just a medical topic, it's a cultural conversation. And that's the real reason I make these videos. I think everyone's so everyone's so uppity about something that really isn't that scary. Sure, sometimes we lose control and get addicted to porn, but it's like drinking alcohol, right? Everybody knows that one girl or guy or whoever that just never learned to properly function in a world where alcohol exists, and a world where it will forever exist. I'm stumbling over my words because I'm so serious. You better learn how to drink responsibly. That doesn't mean putting the dick in the vagina and calling it a day. It's okay to stop sex just to ask questions. Hey, before we do that, Does this feel good? Or are you just doing this to impress me? You know, something like that shows that you care. It's okay to communicate. It's okay to get excited about something that should be exciting. That's my take on it, anyway. Hot chocolate. Save me. I like the instant kind. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. I make a lot of videos that focus on sex, the medical side, the cultural side, and I'd like to make more casual videos like this one. With YouTube becoming much more robotic and filled with AI shit, quite frankly, videos like this that are just a guy talking, and that's it, there's a place for that now. I think it's better to hear a relaxed, philosophical breakdown of a topic rather than an overwritten sludge of royalty-free footage. Again, there's room for both, but I kinda enjoy this slightly more. Oh, also, I know you're used to seeing Corretta host one of these videos, this girl, but I think I'm gonna workshop her design a bit more. The hair really needs fixed. They're just supposed to be like hair buns like this, but they don't really look correct. So, I don't know. Maybe Coretta's time is up. Maybe I just need to workshop her a bit, but Candles just represents me more, so that's why I decided to have her in this one. So, yeah. Anyway, thank you for watching. My name is Candles. You can find more of my art on my Patreon. High quality downloads for free. And I love you all. Good night.